Hello and welcome to In the Kitchen with Mary Mac. Today we're going to make a dish that I absolutely love. I don't really love making it, but I love eating it, and that is eggplant rollatini. If you've been listening to our podcast for a long time, back at episode 20, we did zucchini rollatini, which is very different from eggplant rollatini. So if you go back and listen to episode 20, you can learn how to make the zucchini version of this, which is in some ways a bit simpler, but it's very different from this recipe. Eggplant rollatini requires breading and frying the eggplant and then assembling it with the other ingredients and then baking it again. So it's a bit of an endeavor, but it's not. I guess I should have made it sound so terrible. It's not that terrible, but there's just a lot of steps in it. So I guess what I'm saying is you'll want to have a free extended period of time to do this. And, it's great to use fresh eggplant with this if you can't use super fresh eggplant, like from a farm market or something local to you. Grocery store eggplant is okay. You want your eggplant to be about 7 to 8 inches long. A little longer is okay. Not too big around. You don't want one of those monster eggplants to do this. You want it to be a fairly young eggplant. There's several varieties of eggplant, and you can probably use any one of them. I use the traditional dark purple, and you'll need 2 medium eggplants. You're going to peel them. I've discovered over the years, I never used to peel my eggplant. Sometimes the skin is really tough. So rather than fight that, just peel the eggplant because it does make it a lot better. If I know it's a very, very fresh eggplant, like if it's out of my own garden, I probably wouldn't peel it. But I generally, if I get it from anywhere else, I would peel it. So you're going to peel your eggplant and you're going to cut it long ways. So you're going to stand it like on the stem end and you're going to slice it into slices about 1/4 of an inch thick the whole way down. So you're going to have a big pear-shaped slice is what you're going to have when you're done. So slice your eggplants down in preparation. Some people salt their eggplant to draw the moisture out, but I don't do that because then you end up with a saltier dish, and I just don't do that. I know they do seem to have more water in them, but that doesn't bother me that much. If it bothers you, what you do is you lay your eggplant out on paper towels and you salt one side, flip it over, salt the other side, and you let them sit for about 20 minutes to a half an hour to drain some of the water off of them. Pat them dry, then you're ready to use them. But if you don't salt them, then you don't do that. Okay? Then you're going to need 2 eggs beaten. You're going to need a container of seasoned breadcrumbs. So you're probably going to need like 2 to 3 cups of breadcrumbs. So just keep the container handy. And you're going to need a large skillet, like a 10-inch diameter skillet for frying, and oil for frying. Okay, so what you're going to do is peel your eggplant, slice it into your 1/4 inch thick pieces, long ways, so you get that nice pear-shaped slice. Then you're going to dip in beaten egg, then coat in seasoned breadcrumbs, and you're going to fry that in your skillet until it's nice and brown. And you're going to drain it on cooling racks. So what I usually do for draining it, I put a cooling rack into a sheet pan and I set it in my oven with the oven on like 175, just keep warm temperature. And I just take the eggplants as I'm frying them and lay them on those racks in my oven. Or you can just set the racks up on your table with paper towels underneath them, and just as you fry the eggplants, remove them to a plate and take them over to your cooling rack. Because you don't want them to be too warm anyway. You're going to be working with these for your next step. So fry all of your eggplants. And the little weird ends, eat those while you're fry them and eat them. Okay, now your filling for these, you need about 3/4 of a pound of prosciutto, sliced very, very thin. So if you go to your Italian market and get your prosciutto, just tell them you want it, I don't want to say as thin as humanly possible, but that's kind of what you want. My market, he slices it onto paper so that the prosciutto doesn't all stick together because it's so thin. So I think the last time I did this, I want to say I got a pound because I was optimistic, and then I used about 3/4 of it, and we just ended up eating the rest. But you could do that too, get a pound of it done. But if you have them slice it, have them put paper between each slice so they don't stick together. It just makes it a little bit easier. And then you're going to mix up some ricotta cheese. If you happen to go back and listen to the zucchini rollatini recipe or my lasagna recipe, I do the same thing with my ricotta. I don't do very much different. So you want to use a dry ricotta. So you can buy a loaf of ricotta at the grocery store if possible. Do not use wet ricotta in this, like the kind of ricotta that comes in a plastic container. Don't use that. You want nice dry loaf of ricotta. Now, I also have a podcast on how to make your own ricotta, and that is episode 76. Ricotta is very easy. It's so easy to make that once you make it, you'll go, geez, why is this so expensive? But anyway, but it's very good. So you'll need about 2 cups of ricotta crumbled up, a little bit more if you want to. So I would say it's generally about a pound, I think, of ricotta. And you want to use a great big bowl and crumble your ricotta up into little pieces, okay? Then you're going to need about a pound of Scamorza mozzarella or regular mozzarella shredded. You're going to need about half a cup of grated Romano cheese. And then you're going to mix the 3 cheeses together with your fingers, toss them around. You don't want them to be clumpy, so just kind of toss them around. Then you're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon salt, an 1/8 teaspoon pepper, and a 1/2 teaspoon of basil, and mix that around. And then once you get all that mixed up pretty good and it's like separated a little bit, you want to beat 1 egg, beat it really well, and then mix that in with your cheese mixture, using a fork. Just mix that all in. That's what's going to go inside of your rollatini, okay? Next, before assembling, you're going to need about 2 quarts of sauce. I was going to say about 1 quart. I don't know. Probably more like 1 quart of sauce. Depends on if you're a big sauce person or not. Now, I usually serve this with a side of pasta. So if you want to go for the 2 quart amount, good idea. Then you have some for your pasta. You can either make your own sauce, and I do have instructions for that. Episode 78 of In the Kitchen with Mary Mac. We tell you how to make your own sauce. Or you can use a nice jarred sauce that you like. If I were using jarred sauce, I typically use Prego traditional, just a regular plain old Prego. That works really well with this. Now that you have your eggplant is done, your cheese filling is done, you have your prosciutto, you're going to get ready to assemble this. So you need a glass baking dish, 9x13 glass baking dish, and possibly another 9x13 glass baking dish, depending upon how many slices you got out of your eggplant. I usually end up with a couple extra, so I have to use a small baking dish for maybe the 3 or 4 that didn't fit, okay? So take your baking dish and put about 1/4 of an inch of sauce on the bottom, and we're going to set our rollatini right in there. So now you want to lay a slice of eggplant on a smooth, clean surface. You're going to top it with 1 slice of prosciutto, which you'll find oddly is almost the exact same size as your eggplant. And then you're going to put about 1/4 cup of the cheese. Just sprinkle it with your fingers so it's sprinkled out. Now, very carefully, starting with the small end of the eggplant, roll it to the big end, and then put it the end side down into the sauce. And just do that with all of your eggplant until your pan is full. And then just top your rolls lightly with sauce. Don't put too much sauce on because you want to have that nice crispy breadcrumb too. So I usually run a stripe of sauce down the middle or something, and then sprinkle cheese over the top. Again, not too heavy. I think the picture that I'm going to put up, I only have cheese on 1 row because about half of the people in my family don't like cheese like that. So I just did it on mine, the ones I was going to eat. Now you're going to bake this for 30 minutes at 350, okay? And when it's done, you can serve that with your side of pasta. Just take a rollatini out very carefully. Like if you have a large size serving spoon, just scoop it under the rollatini, set it on your plate. You can serve it with a side of sauce to pour over the top like gravy and have your pasta. And it is very, very good. Sometimes people think that the prosciutto would get tough in this, but you're not baking it long enough for the prosciutto to get tough. You're basically baking it just long enough to bake the cheese and to heat it through. So the prosciutto does not get tough. It stays very nice. You can cut this with a fork and eat it. And this is so good. You'll love it. The prosciutto just gives it this wonderful flavor, and the eggplant and ricotta and everything goes together really well. It's really delicious. And it's not super hard to do. It's just, like I said, a lot of steps, little time consuming with the frying, but it's very, very good. So I hope you give this a try when you get your eggplant in, and let me know what you think of it, because this is, honestly, if I see this on a menu, I order it everywhere I go. They have eggplant rollatini, it's on my plate. So good luck and have fun with this recipe.
And make sure to check us out online on Facebook and Instagram at Mary Mac Bakehouse, on Twitter at Mobile Mary Mac and Mary Mac Podcast, and on our website, marymacpodcast.com.
Thanks a lot for listening if you did, and if you didn't, too bad for you.